Alright guys, this is Mr. Extra here. First time doing YouTube, so I figured I might as well give it a go. I'm going to do a deck profile today that is Shaddoll's played with Chaos. So we're going to first start off with our Shaddoll package. We're going to go with, we're going to get keyless. You're going to want to run 2 of those. Keyless is pretty good, he's useful, but mostly just throw him to the grave because he's a good light target for construct. And he is, depending if you can get the situation down and get his flip effect off, you could send a Shaddoll from hand to grave and give all your Shaddolls a temporary attack and defense boost. They gain 100 for each attack. The next, we're going to go with Shaddoll Falco. You're going to want 2 copies of that. Shaddoll Falco is really good to use. Flip effect, you target Shaddoll monster in your graveyard except Shaddoll Falco and special summon it and face down the fence. Or if he's hit by a spell, if he's hit by a card effect and then leaves the field because of it, he will come back from the grave face down. But like all Shaddoll monsters, you can only use one of their 2 effects once per turn. So say if you flip him up, use his effect, special summon Shaddoll face down from grave, and then he gets destroyed by a card effect, you wouldn't get both effects on the same turn. Then we're going to play Shaddoll Beast. We're going to play 2 copies of him. He's pretty good. Shaddoll Beast isn't too bad whatsoever because he's a 5-star. You can typically just use, say, Windy, for example, to bring him onto the field. And then use one of your Shaddoll trap cards, cause them to flip up, draw 2, discard 1. So you can essentially use them to cycle your Shaddolls from your hand to the graveyard or from your deck to your hand to the graveyard, depending on what you need to do. Then we're going to play 1 copy of Ariel. Ariel's good because Ariel lets you target one of your banished Shaddoll monsters and special summon it and face it face on defense position. And if this card's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can target up to 3 cards in your graveyard and banish them, which in certain situations, that is actually useful. I'm going to play 1 copy of Shaddoll Dragon, only for the simple fact that you can flip it and target 1 card on your opponent controls and return it to the hand. That's pretty useful in certain situations, especially if you run it with the trap, Shaddoll Trap. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a spell trap on the field and destroy it. So, essentially, MST if you can't get the flip effect. If you do get the flip effect, though, return something to hand. It's pretty useful. Alright, so next is going to be Shaddoll Hedgehog. I'm running 2 of these, but essentially you're going to want to run 3. But Shaddoll Hedgehog is good because it lets you get a spell or trap from your deck to your hand. That's a Shaddoll spell or trap, like for example the fusion spells are the Shaddoll trap cards. And if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can add a Shaddoll monster from your deck to the grave, accept him. So initially, if he gets sent, you can use it correctly, and then you can say use Winda, and then send him to get a Shaddoll card to your hand, or you could put him on the field and use one of the Shaddoll trap cards to flip him up to immediately search to get Shaddoll Fusion, for example. Next, we're going to go with Shaddoll Squagmata. We're going to play 2 of those. Squagmata is one of the best ones in the deck that I think, because the flip effect is you can target 1 monster on the field and destroy it. Also, if this card goes to the graveyard by card effect, you can send a Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. Essentially, send a Shaddoll from deck to grave, setting off the Shaddoll effect for the one that you sent, thus chaining off it and making it easier. So you're going to want to play 2 of those. Now, your last thing for the Shaddoll package for your standard monsters is going to be Wendy. I would run 3. But I currently do not have 3 Wendy for now. But 2 is fine. So for Wendy, she's awesome. She's like the best one I can think of when it comes to the standard ones for effect. If she's flipped, she can special summon Shaddoll monster from your deck and face her to face down defense position. Or if she goes to the grave of card effect, it's the same thing. But when she goes to the grave, you can special summon Shaddoll from your deck and face down defense position. You're going to use her once per turn, okay? Now for your little extra monsters before I move on. I run 2 electromagnetic turtles. 1, because it's a light target. 2, it's more useful in the graveyard than it is on the field. And 3, its quick effect is you can banish it from the graveyard and end the battle phase, pretty much. So, pretty useful. It gets banished, you can pull it back depending. And then I run 1 copy of Honest. It's a light target. I can toss it in the grave. I can use it especially if I'm trying to run Shaddolls with Chaos, which I tested it out at my first tournament recently. It didn't do too bad. Kind of kept up the meta too for the most part. Honest is nice because Honest can be put on the field, and then during your main phase you can return her back to your hand. Or you could do what most people use Honest for and have her in the hand and swing with a light monster, like for example El Shaddoll Construct, and double the attack. So that would work regardless. Alright, so we're going to move on. We're going to go to the Chaos package, which is very small because it's still mostly Shaddolls, but the Chaos makes it help when it comes to banishing. And Shaddolls themselves, most of them don't actually banish. So, you're going to run around 1 copy of Chaos Sorcerer. Chaos Sorcerer is nice, light and dark. Once per turn, you can target a face-up monster. And banish that monster. But once it does that, it can't attack the rest of the turn. But that's typical. And we're going to go Black Luster Soldier, Envoy of Twilight. Now what this one does is same thing. Can't be normal summon set, must be special summoned from hand by banishing all light monsters and dark monsters from your grave. Now the interesting thing about this is just says all, so you could just use 1 light or 1 dark. But initially you're going to want to use the light so you can target a monster on the field and banish it. But if you have an equal number of each in your graveyard, when it's faced on the field, this card is also a light. But it's a nice little 1 banish, get on the field, get a banish out of the way. Then next you're going to run Lackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning. Simple banish of light and dark. Still pretty useful though. Same thing as the other 2. Once per turn I can target a monster on the field and banish it, and then it can't attack. Or if this card attacks and destroys the opponent's monster, it gets to attack again. Which is pretty nice for something that you can just banish it from the grave. So, we're going to move on to our next one. Our next one is going to be Chaos Dragon Levineer. He is a banish 3. He's a little more costly to get out, but essentially you can cycle him out to the field to use his effect. And typically what I do is I'll banish light and dark. So for example, 2 dark, 1 light. Throw him on the field and destroy 2 targets on the field. And then usually I cycle him out because he can't attack anyways, but I cycle him out just to use his effect, just to clear up some potential moves you can initially do. And then we're going to go with the last Chaos monster that I'm using. Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy at the end. Now this one's a good one, and this specific card was on the ban list for 12 years, and then they finally pulled it off, and it's unlimited now. You can play 3. It's very nice. It's saved me a lot of times. Same thing, banish light and dark. Once you banish light and dark, you can summon it to the field. You can use its effect once per turn. You can pay 1,000 life points, and then you can send as many cards in both players' hands and on field as possible to the grave, and 300 damage per to your opponent. And you can't activate other effects or other cards or effects the turn you activate this. So initially, my big problem right now is I always hate fighting Dragoon. Dragoon's hard to get rid of. I usually Underworld Goddess or something like that, but Chaos Emperor Dragon doesn't target Dragoon either. It just sends everything, all of it. So it will get around Dragoon. I've used it before, it's worked. As long as I have the life points and I do it that way initially, Dragoon will go. Alright, that's it for the Chaos package. We're gonna go to the extra deck. Now for the Shaddoll extra deck, it's very simple. Do what most Shaddoll decks do. You're going to want Construct. Construct is easily tied for first and not the best fusion Shaddoll you can get. I run 2 of her because I don't have a 3rd one yet. 3rd one's coming in the mail. Construct's good because as soon as she hits the field, she sends the Shaddoll monster from your deck to grave, so you can throw her down, let it hit the field, user effect, send one to the grave, proc a Shaddoll effect from the grave. And on top of it, Shaddoll Construct here is not a once per turn. So you can cycle the effect multiple times the same turn. And then when she goes to the grave, she pulls a Shaddoll Spell Trap card from my graveyard and adds it back to my hand, like, for example, Miracle Fusion. Well, not Miracle Fusion, but Shaddoll Fusion. Next, you're going to want to run Shaddoll Chaos. You're going to want to run 2 of her. She's useful as well. I usually use her in the event that I need to throw something out real quick to deal with, say, Monster Reborn or spells or traps that special summon monsters from the hand or grave. That's exactly what her effect is. It hits both players, and when she dies, she does the same thing. Spell or trap card from your graveyard, add it to your hand. Now we're going to run Al Capone. Al Capone is easily tied with Construct for the best Shaddoll card I can think of for fusions. We're going to run 2 of her. Al Capone's nice because when she gets fusion summoned, she can do her effects once per turn. She cannot be destroyed by battle, and if she special summons, she can target a face-up card in the field and negate it, which that's huge. That's a negate. One thing I do want to re-elaborate since I brought up Construct is when Construct here does battle with special summon monsters, she destroys it before the damage step. So initially you can just run her in on their big beat stick monster that got special summoned from extra deck, and if you can protect it, then Shaddoll is just going to destroy it before damage step. So even if she's weaker, or even if she's on defense and they feel like attacking it, it's going to die. Now we're going to run Winda. 2 copies of Winda. Winda is useful. She's easy to get onto the field. When she hits the field, she restricts special summoning for each person at 1 per turn. And when she dies, she gets a spell or trap from Shaddoll Spell Trap from the graveyard back to your hand. Unlike Al Capone, when Al Capone dies, and this card sent to the graveyard, you can add Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard, then add it to your hand, and then discard 1 card. So you could use that to cycle stuff in, potentially to cycle, like, for example, light monsters, dark monsters from your deck to the graveyard to use for your chaos package. And then I run 1 copy of El Shaddoll Shikanaga. El Shaddoll Shikanaga is pretty good because if you have Shaddoll cards in your hand, it can essentially negate the activation of effects. You can negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. Then send 1 Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. So what you do is they use a monster effect. You negate it. You send a card from the hand to the graveyard. And then when you do, you set off that Shaddoll as well. Assuming you're sending a Shaddoll card to the graveyard or a Shaddoll monster. Because they would leave your hand by card effect. So their effect would proc. And you could definitely do this during your opponent's turn too. Because she has a quick effect. Now I run 1 copy of El Shaddoll Wendigo. El Shaddoll Wendigo. She can target 1 monster you control this turn. It can't be destroyed by battle. Move an opponent special summon a monster. And then also when she dies, she sends 1 Shaddoll Spell Trap card from your graveyard to your hand. And she requires a wind target. So Wendy, for example, would work for her. Earth target for this one. Earth targets, let's see. Usually I'll use Mathematician for this, but most of the time I get this out of changing the attribute of one of my Shaddolls and then doing it that way, or using Super Poly. Now I have 1 Super Poly target I'm using right now. It's the only one I can think of, and that's going to be a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. It's 2 darks. You can Super Poly 2 of your own monsters. You can Super Poly, say, 1 of your opponents as long as it meets requirements, and then you throw it on the field. And what it does is it can steal attack of special summon monster, 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, and then it can also steal the name and the effect of it. On top of that, if it gets destroyed, it destroys all your opponent's special summon monsters. So we're gonna go ahead and review our spell and trap cards that I'm using right now for this deck. So we'll start off with the Shaddolls. I run 1 copy of Nel Shaddoll Fusion. What Nel Shaddoll Fusion does is it acts as a fusion gate if it's equipped to a Shaddoll. And you can declare an attribute and change the attribute, so you can go, okay, I want the Shaddoll to go from dark to fire, or dark to water, or dark to light, whatever. And then you can use this to fuse out as well, as long as the monster equipped with no Shaddoll fusion is part of the fusion material. Then we're going to run Shaddoll fusion. I'm going to run 2 of them. And what this does is exactly what you think it does. Fuses summons a Shaddoll monster from your extra deck using from hand or field. You can only use it once per turn. I usually put it down and use it during my opponent's turn if he's getting ready to get rid of my monsters, for example, and then I throw that over for a quick fusion and the construct to set an effect. And then it's Shaddoll fusion, for example, and then construct, and then use construct's effect to send a card to grave, like Wendy. And longhand or short, you could go from 2 monsters to a construct and then a face down monster on the same turn, or you could throw this down and use it at the start of their turn, so you can drop out window if they start trying to do special summons and then greatly reduce their special summons. Now, next one is Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion is awesome. I like this card. It's my favorite spell card for this deck. What it does is if your opponent controls an extra monster or a monster from the extra deck, you can use you can do the fusion with materials from your deck. Very straight, simple. It's awesome. You can use it once per turn. I would run 3. I don't have 3 though. And then let me see. Alright. I think it's over here. It is. So those are the Shaddoll spell and traps. Now, just because it's interesting, I run Super Poly. I run 3. It's good though to have more than one Super Poly target. I usually use them to get out Venom Dragon, or I'll use them and get out Shaddoll monster with the graceful donation of one of your opponent's monsters. But it's nice all in all. It really helps. It's very useful. And then I got just a couple random staples that I use. I use 2 Twin Twisters just because I can discard a Shaddoll to the graveyard and then pop 2 cards on the field, 2 spell and trap. So, say if I need one more light monster to get out one of my chaos monsters. Okay, Twin Twisters, pop there 2, send it to the grave, and there you go. I just cleared the gap. Now I run 1 Foolish Burial, mainly so I can throw Wendy into the grave off this, and chain off her to throw her out and get material to the field. 1 Dark Hole, because Dark Hole benefits you more than it would your opponent. Say you stack up your field Shaddoll monsters, drop Dark Hole down and use it. You just start off all your Shaddoll monster effects as long as they haven't used their effects already once that same turn. Very simple. Field clear. Your stuff will bounce back more than likely. And then 1 Monster Born, because it's Monster Reborn. Say Construct goes to the grave, you need it back. Or say Al Capone goes to the grave, actually. You need it back. Monster Reborn, slap it down. Construct would get her initial effect. Al Capone won't, because I believe it has to be fusion summon to do the negate, but it would get the second effect still. Let's go into my trap cards. Let's see. For the Shaddoll trap cards, you're going to want to run Shaddoll, Real Shaddoll Incarnation. I run 2 of those. It's an awesome card. What it does is it's basically a monster born for Shaddoll cards in your graveyard. Target 1 Shaddoll monster in your graveyard, special summon it and face up, face down. And then after that, you can banish this card from a graveyard with a Shaddoll card from your graveyard, and then activate one of the effects. Change 1 face down monster you control to face up defense. Change 1 face up monster you control to face down defense. So initially you could use that, and as soon as you use it, banish it in a Shaddoll monster, and then flip over your face down Shaddolls and start proccing the effects. Alright. Let's see what else I'm using here right now. Alright, so Sinister Games, another Shaddoll trap. Very useful. I run 2 of those. And what it's for is you send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to grave, then you can change any number of face down defense position monsters into face up. So, use it. Get your flip effects. Send like Wendy to the grave, for example. So you get the flip effects, and on top of it, you can get Wendy's graveyard effect as well. And then depending what you have down, like Falco, you can bring her back to field immediately. Or if you have like, I don't know, Swagmata, and cause it to flip up because of that, you can target and destroy 1 card, your 1 monster card your opponent controls. Or if you have Hedgehog, use it to proc off to get Shaddoll Fusion to the hand from deck. I don't know why I keep calling it Miracle Fusion. The image looks the same, just a little bit different though. I run 1 copy of Lost Winds just to hit those special summon monsters that hit the field that are usually super annoying. And what it does is it negates the effect of the special summon monster that your opponent controls, and then on top of it, as soon as it does that, it strips their attack to half. And then say if you use it, it goes to the grave, and then your opponent plays another monster from the extra deck afterwards, guess what? You can put this back onto the field from the grave. That's its second effect, but as you use it again, it gets banished. Now we're going to run into my favorite trap cards of this deck. I run Crackdown because Crackdown's awesome. I run 2 of them. Now what Crackdown does, Crackdown is very simple. All it does is you flip it up, target 1 monster your opponent controls, take control of that monster, so it's a free snatchy basically. When you control it, it can't attack or activate effects, and then when it leaves the field, destroy it. So it's very simple, it's good to just interrupt someone's chain. 1 copy of the standard Mirror Force. I like all the other variations, but the standard is still pretty nice. Because Radiant, Mirror Force, if I'm not mistaken, that sends it back to the hand. Drowning Mirror Force sends it back to the deck, but that's Drowning Mirror Force has to be a defense monster, so might as well run with the OG Mirror Force. Still useful, even in today's game. Now I run 1 copy of Phoenix Chain, just to negate a monster's effect and lock them on the field and make them pretty much useless. 1 Grand Horn of Heaven to negate a special summon. Granted, your opponent will get to draw a card, but I mean, depending on what they're throwing down, if you can negate something from killing you when it hits the field, that would work. And 1 Solemn Strike. I do want more Solemn Strikes. I think I got a couple now, but Solemn Strike's a good card. It's the cheapest of the Solemns. 1500 life points. Stop a special summon, negate, destroy. I also run 1 Subterra Succession. It's useful for cycling Shaddolls from your hand to the graveyard. What it does is you activate it, you send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard. You want a hand interface to the field of the graveyard, and if you do, you add a flip effect monster from your deck to your hand with the same attribute but a different name as the monster before that was sent. Or you can use a second effect, which is send 1 flip effect monster from your flip monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. And if you do, add 1 monster from your deck to your hand with the same attributes but lower original level. And then after you use it, you can put it back face down. So you can intentionally use it once every turn and then stack your graveyard to try to use your stack your graveyard of Shaddolls. Now I have 1 more trap card. Let me find it real quick. Surprised I haven't ran into it yet, actually. Wherever it's at. Let's see, where are you at? I think you're over here. There. Where did this thing go? Huh. Oh. Okay. Last trap card. Another awesome one. Necrofusion. I run 2 of them. And what Necrofusion does is it acts like a poly from the graveyard. Banishes them face down. So initially, free fusion. It's not once per turn, so I could flip both these up and use them both. But the fusion monster can't attack that turn. As for link monsters, I'm only running 2 right now. I'm running Typologic Trishabania. And what this does is 2 effect monsters, link rating of 3. If monster special summon in a zone that this card points to, banish as many monsters as possible. Banish as many of those monsters as possible. Also, many spell traps on the field as possible. And if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each one that got banished. So, useful, situational. I like it. I'm using it. And 1 Shaddoll Construct. This is different than El Shaddoll Construct. El Shaddoll Construct is the fusion. This one's the link version. The link version acts as the ongoing fusion gate. And then when it dies, for example, this one's a link too. When it dies, you can, once per turn, you can take a Shaddoll card from your hand or field and get rid of it, and then special summon this back onto the field. So, that's really about everything I got. Comment, subscribe. That's all I can really say. It's my first attempt at one of these things. I'm still figuring it out, but if you have any recommendations for me, please let me know.